Well, welcome to a new Harry's Farm video, and yeah, this one, well, the sun is shining and we've got the tractors out and we're doing a bit of cultivating. We're actually in a piece that is going into wild bird cover. This is on the stewardship thing. Yeah, in this video there's lots to cover. I'm going to mention the weather because it's been a bit weird in March and now April. What's happening on the market, how the crops are looking, and general things. I'm just figuring out, I've just got this out, so I just wanted to. It's funny, you go all through the winter and it's just like nothing you can do because weather's not right or whatever. And yeah, I just brought this carrier out because I've unblocked this because this is mud from last year. The memories of last year when we were putting crops in and how wet it was and the soil wasn't really in a workable condition. I should get a spanner from the house. But anyway, just want to tighten that up, and that will then clear the mud. So it's meant to look like that with no mud there. And you can see this one had popped out and it wasn't clearing, but as I say, that's hard mud from last year. But if I carry on going up and down the field, it'll also block up. So yeah, been doing that. The other thing you can notice since last time out here, this soil is in a workable condition, because that's why the sun's got on it, and that's why we're out here with this too. Remember last time it was a little bit like plasticine, and that's why I couldn't cultivate that day. But all very different today. So yeah, wild bird food. This is a little plot of it. This is a small plot. This is about just under a hectare here, and then I've got a bigger plot about 4 hectares to do next door. But yeah, if you'd have a look here how this cultivator works. Incidentally, this is one of my favourite tools. You just need a big lever. It's amazing what you can do with a big heavy lever, and it rescued me once when I had my thumb trapped in the grain trailer. I just managed to reach over this, lever the tailgate of the trailer open. It was all very silly and it was a big lesson. But anyway, that's one of my favourite things. Yeah, so the idea here, we've sprayed this off. Remember last time in here I found quite a lot of thistles. Everything's sprayed off. Glyphosate, yeah, you can see a thistle there. So now I'm just putting a disc through. It's too early actually to put the wild bird mix in, but it just shows you this is one pass with these discs, and they open a slot and they sort of move the soil. But the downside of them is they don't cultivate right across. So I'm going to have to go at an angle on here so I can disturb that soil as well. And the seed is actually arriving next week, but it just hasn't rained. And I was looking at the rain figures for this year, and it's just mad. In March, we recorded about 5.5 mil of rain. We would normally expect 50 mil of rain in March, so we've had just around 10% of average rainfall, and we're going into April and it obviously hasn't rained, and there's no rain forecast for at least 10 days. So yeah, what's going on? So March last year 83 mil, this year 5. And I looked also at the first 4 days of April last year, and we'd had 25 mil by then. So a very different year, 2025 to 24. And I'm not putting any seed in here. The wild bird mix is linseeds, mustards, various sort of small seeds we're going to be putting in here. And if I put it in early with no rain, 1, it won't really germinate, and 2, it will definitely be wild bird feed, because all the birds will come down and say, oh, look at all this seed here, we'll eat this, and it won't grow. So I'm not putting it in until I can see rain on the forecast, and then it will go in. Anyway, so that's what's happening here. I just want to show you now what's happening with the wheat and some other areas on this countryside stewardship scheme. Now, this isn't a very good field of wheat, but it's close by where we're working at the moment. This is, I think, 4th wheat in here, and then next year it will be in this enhanced overwinter stubble. So this is the last year we're going to crop in here, and we put the first dressing of nitrogen fertilizer on, I think it was the 5th of March, and now month on we should be thinking about putting the second dressing, the main dressing of nitrogen on it. But it's all looking well, a bit hungry and a bit stressed really. It's not looking its best at all. There's a little bit of septoria I can see down there, and that is sort of a consequence of this weather, this weird weather, because it hasn't, nitrogen fertiliser is taken up generally by the roots. There is a little bit from the leaf on the wheat. Sorry, it's a bit windy today, if you can hear the wind, but yes, mainly root. And this time of year it normally rains, but it's not raining in 2025. So I wonder how much of that nitrogen was taken up by the wheat. It's not looking good, and I don't really want to put the main dressing on. The date says I should be on this, but I'd just like to know that there is some rain coming. And the madness is, with the size of the machinery we have these days, and also the shrunken amount of wheat we're growing in 2025, it's only like a 2-3 hour job to do the whole farm, put the nitrogen on. So you can be very picky on when you do it, and you can see the forecast for rain, and he said, right, I'm going out there because it's so quick. And we've got a lot of areas like this, and my agronomist tells me that I'm not alone, but this is a wet patch, and it was so wet in October time that it just didn't grow. It got wet feet immediately. The seed never even germinated. You can see the sort of the ruts on the tractor going through it. Not good. So I'm really not expecting a very good year on yield at the moment, but I wait to be surprised. And the other thing that's happening is the residual herbicides are giving up. So there's cleavers. So I'm just noticing now it's dried out, has stopped working now. It doesn't work in dry conditions, and the weeds are having a little go, and it's particularly not great on the other farm, the other side. I can just see sterile brome now and a little bit of grass and things, but we can attack that with herbicides later on. But at the moment I just don't want to overstress this plant. I want some rain. Right, well, this is the grass seed that I put in, I think it was September last year. So this is a field margin, as it's termed, and this is going to stay, it's a 5-year scheme. It's actually on the Countryside Stewardship scheme, this one. I'm sorry if it's complicated, which is now mid-tier. You can't get, and we're all doing the SFI. And you can't get that now because they withdrew it, which is what the last video is all about. But anyway, we got it. This is what this area is, and I'm quite pleased with how there's grass here, and you can sort of see the stubble, the enhanced winter stubble as it's termed, just the other side. So it's this side that, and I put this in because this area flooded badly a couple of times, and this is actually a watermark of where it flooded this, I think it was in November or December. So it's like, on a beach where you have the waves sort of pushing it up when you have a storm and it leaves sort of seaweed and stuff. Well, this is the stubble that was where this was just underwater here, and it came that way. So I'm quite pleased. I'm surprised how much is here. This might have been some grass that was already here, so it might be a little bit of black grass here, but genuinely there is a lot of the grass seed that I put in has come up pretty well, because there's a definite line where you go to the stubble over there. I've got some other areas which I've put this grass seed in, and it's really quite good on the banks. And there's one area that grows borage every year, and I've left that in. I've asked if this is possible because it's a very good sort of pollen and nectar mix, and it comes every year. But it being an annual, borage is self-sowing, so it's if enough seeds went into the ground, and it's all going to pop up. At the moment it looks slightly bare, and I've got my fingers crossed. I'll put in a picture now, but I can see the odd borage plant just coming through the ground. Hopefully that will be a sea of blue in a few months' time. So yeah, it's a different sort of farming. Normally I worried about sort of fungicides and weeds in wheat and things. With this new environmental schemes, you're farming in a very different way. With all the turmoil that's happening in the world now, I'm really quite pleased that we are entered into these schemes. I heard today actually that 68% of the land in England is under some form of SFI or environmental scheme, which is higher than I realised. I thought it was under half, but apparently if they add it all up, 68%. And I noticed a lot of the comments on the previous video on this SFI. So, there's farmers getting these handouts, it's all wrong. This is something that the government encouraged us to do. There was real pressure to enter these environmental schemes. And it was, as I explained in that video, I suspect, a sort of net zero thing to reduce the impact of carbon emissions from us sort of farming to grow food. It's the mentality of a farm is to grow food. That is what I was taught at college. That is what it's always been for generations, to produce food. We are encouraged to do these environmental schemes, and I'm quite interested in them, and we've always had a margin around the field, these wildlife refuge areas. They've been on this farm for 20 years. It's not farmers begging for money. This is a government, please do these environmental schemes. We want this nature reserve on the land in the UK, and we will reward you for putting these schemes in with the payments. And that's how it works. What's happening now with everything that's going on in the market is actually producing grain. The arable sector is really under pressure in the UK in 2025. We have not seen the price of wheat rise as we sort of expected to do, because we had a poor harvest in 24, and that generally meant it would go up because there's a shortage. But we're in a global market now, and the prices are set by traders looking at what's happening in the world. And since harvest, what has happened, there is Ukraine, there's been wheat coming out of Ukraine and Russia, and then there was talk of peace talks and things. Well, maybe that'll release more grain in the market, and it's all run by sentiment, having been involved in the grain trade. And there is grain on farm, there is supply, there is a lot of exports come in, there's more grain come out of Ukraine and Russia than expected, and if they do get a ceasefire, well, there's going to be even more grain coming out. So generally the market is depressed, and it's getting to the point now where it's £30 less than it was at harvest. And if you're producing 3 tonnes to the acre and you're hoping to make £100 an acre, well, there's your profit gone, purely in the movement of the price of wheat in 2025. It's a very worrying graph. And I'm also thinking, well, what's 25 harvest going to be like? It's a little bit better, but it's nowhere near. I was budgeting, thinking, oh, I might get 190, 200. I think I'll be lucky to get 170, 180. It's a bit higher than today's market. So yeah, real pressure on the arable sector. Bizarrely, the beef industry is right up, and beef is having a renaissance, and we want protein, and we want natural protein, and the beef price is rocketing, and they're doing really well, as are sheep producers. Lamb price, I saw lambs £180 a lamb, spring lambs. That used to celebrate if you got over £100. It's £180 today for a lamb. So I'll cover that in another video. But profitability under pressure, and the eagle-eyed of you might have noticed there's a new sponsor on board on the channel, and that's Howden Rural Insurers. I was talking to one of the directors there, and I just thought this is a really interesting space, because farm insurance in the UK is dominated by one player, won't mention names, and Howden are a big insurer, and they're looking at it and thinking, yeah, we can help here. And talking to them, I was saying, my insurance cost has ratcheted up over the last few years. And what was the reason for it? He said it's the weather events we've been having have increased the risk, and those named storms coming over and that wind damage and the flooding, it's a big area. But anyway, there's a link in the video description, so yeah, come renewal time, have a look at it. I'm looking at it because I'm just having a look at all costs. All fixed costs are under the magnifying glass with the current regime, and profitability on farm suffering a bit. So yeah, so I'm pleased with this. It's nice to get the tractor out and be working the ground again. I will be putting the wild bird mix in next week, I would expect, and I'll be eagle-eyed on every forecast looking for when the rain is coming, because I want my wheat to cheer up and I want to get the nitrogen on, and all is good. And you can see here, this is actually starting to crack out. They were only into April, and I know this is sort of quite high clay content here, but that is not the condition of soil I would expect to find at this time of year. It's mad. But that's the frustration and the entertainment we get from farming. We just don't know what the weather's going to do next. But at the moment, this is a super dry. I don't want to say we're heading towards drought conditions. This is ridiculous in April. but all farmers in the UK could really do with some rain coming soon. So there you go. Hope you enjoyed this Harry's Farm video. If you did, well, keep watching, keep subscribing. More videos coming along very soon.